Today we'll be diving into a little bit about what's happening in the update of what's going on with Flow, but also how this could affect the Ethereum ecosystem. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into TechPath. Let's get into it today. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Tangem. This is a great place for you guys to get started in your self-custody journey. If you have not tried self-custody, this is probably the product for you. It's a card that works with your iPhone or your Android. Very easy to set up. And this is a self-custody wallet. And of course, that means you can hold tokens on there, all sorts of things. NFTs are coming to this. Just go over, click that little blue button up there at the top. You'll jump into this page right here on Tangem, and you'll be able to get the 3-card set. Very easy to set up. I think you guys will be surprised. Use our link down below to get started on all of that. So joining us today is Roham Gharegozlou, who is the CEO of Dapper Labs, coming in. How are you, Roham?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So I want to jump into a few points that we've been talking about here on the show for some time. We had the Axelar team on not too long ago. They did the big announcement of what's going on. We tweeted about this. Flow becomes the first chain to have full interoperability across 70 chains. All of this powered now by the Axelar stack. So what does this really mean, Roham? I mean, give me what this means for the Flow ecosystem. Obviously, you guys riding very heavily in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what it means for the Flow ecosystem and also for just the wider blockchain space is that interoperability piece between the execution environment of Flow and the sort of financial assets, whether fungible or non-fungible tokens that live everywhere else. And so for most of Flow's history, it's been a chain that's been powering a lot of sort of enterprise products like what we built at Dapper, like Ticketmaster, some other power companies, but it hasn't had that sort of interoperability with the wider space. That's all changing, starting with Axelar, but also Layer 0 and other bridges that'll help make sure that liquidity can flow into and out of the network as easy as possible. This comes at a great time because we have a slate of new DeFi protocols that are launching, new tokens that are coming onto the network, and sort of sends the message that it doesn't matter where the asset lives, the consumer should be able to bridge it in and out of any execution environment and access the applications that might live in those different blockchains. So Flow's always been an application blockchain. You've been able to build consumer products here. Now you can bring and take out financial assets really easily as well.
Yeah. For some of our viewers that are watching this right now and they're trying to figure out what is Dapper Labs, how does it kind of connect the dots here, where is it being used? I see you have your all-day hoodie on right there, so that's a good example of some of the tool sets. Give me just a quick rundown for people who are just coming into crypto.
Yeah, so I mean, Dapper Labs, the mission since the beginning has been to build products that real consumers can use and that show off the benefits of crypto, the technology, rather than just launching speculative assets. So the company started with CryptoKitties, which was the first NFT game. We built the original NFT standard, ERC 721, to sort of power that. That was all on Ethereum. And then since 2020, we created this new blockchain called Flow, and now it's open source, it's decentralized, it's run by a foundation, and lots of other builders are building on top of it. But it also powers our core products, which include NBA Top Shot, NFL All Day, the Disney Pinnacle product, which I hope we can talk a little bit about, and the new CryptoKitties, which is live on Telegram at the moment. It's a pretty exciting game that's now has nearly 250,000 users, over 250,000 users, fully organic and counting. So if your viewers haven't tried it, it's a good time to start.
I'm looking at your website and I see the product integration. These are some big brands here that are tied into this, which brings me to my question around community. And you look at the Flow community, and I would say there has been a little bit of a problem in being able, or at least from our opinion, of looking at the Flow community. Why have we not been able to see the Flow community kind of grow like some of these others? If you look at Solana, even Avalanche to a certain extent, what do you think has been the holdback?
Well, I think that interoperability piece has been a big part of it, where even the Dapper products have kind of been on an island unto themselves. And until today, you couldn't actually easily take assets in and out of the network. Today, you can go into your Dapper products, connect your Flow wallet, and have full non-custodial access to everything inside of the Dapper products, whether it's the NBA Top Shots, et cetera. You can bridge them in and out of the wallet, bridge them in and out of the network. And until recently, the network was also not EVM compatible, which meant that anyone wanting to build on the network had to create everything in its own bespoke programming language. And and it was not compatible with things like OpenSea or MetaMask, so on and so forth. That's all changed as of late last year, the Crescendo upgrade, and that means that for developers, it's really easy to come to Flow, bring the same tooling, the same smart contracts, the same sort of base that they have on other networks, launch it here with as easily as you would on any other L2. And so we've seen that pick up dramatically. I mean, even since the Axelar integration, we've had hundreds of thousands of new users come on board. I believe a 10x increase in the transaction volume on the network. We've showed up since the Crescendo upgrade to 3 ETH Global Hackathons, Singapore, Thailand, and the most recent one in San Francisco. And at all 3, Flow was the number 1 layer 1 chosen by developers. And so we just hit an all-time high in number of developers building on the network. It's an all-time high in Flow TVL. Obviously, price action sort of determines the dollar impact of it. But I think we're laying the foundations. The team is laying the foundations for another big growth cycle. And we've always been focused on the long term here, as in not just chasing the trends, but trying to create a real platform that developers can build sustainable applications on top of, and that's been difficult. But I think the foundation is set today, and you're starting to see it kind of pick up in the numbers. Now, importantly, I think the products that are built by Dapper and the bigger companies are, I think, going to be sort of that anchor that brings the mainstream consumer, and then we have kind of developers that can build things on top. So there's an AI agent hackathon that's today. We'll be showing up in Force to ETH Denver, and I think we're getting that community built up brick by brick.
Crescendo went live. This was back end of last year. So the fact that this has started to happen so quickly, I mean, it's just January. So you're talking about 3 hackathons now rolling out with ETH Denver. That'll be a big initiative, I think. How effective do you think that will help? You're talking about, yes, it's growing interest in developers, but do you feel like this is going to be a long-standing opportunity here for really kind of bringing developers on, much like the ETH ecosystem has done over the last 5 years?
Flow is a step function shift in what you can do with crypto applications. And so, we've had Bitcoin, we've had Ethereum. Now it's been, year 11 of the EVM, and Flow was this sort of new thing that lets you do things you couldn't do previously, but it was sort of inaccessible. It's hard to build on. And once you build something on it, your users had to change all their behaviors. That's the part that's gone away. But Flow, all of the benefits of Flow still exist. And we think that it's going, just like CryptoKitties and Top Shot before it, the slate of products that are going to come out in the next 6 to 9 months are going to change the public's perception of, hey, what can crypto be used for? Not just launching meme coins, not just sort of trading tokens, but also building products that add value on a day-to-day basis. And that value then creates even more opportunities for speculation. So you see kind of that wave continuing. So there's no denying that, hey, there's going to be speculation and sort of digital assets that are volatile and all that stuff. But I think we're just scratching the surface of what you can build with decentralized business logic, effectively smart contracts that kind of run in the open. Today, the vast majority of smart contracts in existence just either create a new token or move a new token around. We think that there's much more scope for that people are starting to explore.
Who does this help more? When you look at the advancement that has happened now within the Flow ecosystem, obviously this means onboarding to the Ethereum ecosystem. Is this better for Ethereum or is this better for Flow, in terms of who benefits?
Well, I think it's rising tides lift all boats. And of course, Flow is starting from a smaller base. So if you look at kind of a multiples basis, Flow is just a baby, and it's a new project. It kind of feels like a new project where there's basically a venture scale opportunity and how much we have to build here. But when you look at Ethereum and what's the next step for Ethereum, is it all of these proliferation of L2s and every single application launching their own tokens? How do you deal with the lack of composability between different environments, the crazy sort of complexity that it adds for developers to now have to launch a blockchain as well as manage their own application, build something people want. And we don't think that's going to work. We've, as a team that tried managing everything in one structure, and sort of it took us years to get to a blockchain that we're sort proud of and saying that others can now find it as a best-in-class solution to build on. We don't think that's the right approach. And so what Flow does is it basically creates a new layer of types of applications that exist in the crypto world. It doesn't replace Bitcoin or Ethereum. You can still mint assets there. You can bridge your Bitcoin into Flow, bridge your Ethereum into Flow, thanks to Axelar and Layer 0 and other similar solutions. But we can then provide utility and help developers build new kinds of products for all of those tokens that exist everywhere else, in addition to obviously being able to mint their tokens here. So I think it makes the pie bigger for everybody. Rising tide lifts all boats. But it's no secret that I think the most valuable crypto token 10 years from now is going to be the native currency of the blockchain, the network that everybody uses every day. I don't think it's a sort of conceived notion that there's every single app is going to have its own token, or its own blockchain. I do think that almost everything will have its own token, but those tokens will want to be part of a execution environment that everybody can build on and seamlessly compose with. Those network effects that exist in every other platform shift and layer of software aren't going to go away just because we sort of want them to. And so Flow is built for that future. Build your asset anywhere, build the application here. And if you build your application here, it's compatible with anything else today, including MetaMask and all that stuff. I'm using Flow as much through my MetaMask as through my my Flow wallet.
Okay, I'm looking at Blockdaemon here. This is a good statement. Flow has the potential to scale beyond 1 million transactions per second at maturity and to be able to store up to petabytes of state data at 1/10 the hardware and energy size. So that's pretty significant in terms of early scalability for, like you just mentioned, if you think about the future, what is it going to look like? It's going to ride on one ecosystem that's got the capacity to grow like that. I mean, that's pretty significant. Is this something that you feel is even more scalable, or is this this is the holy grail? This is what we've got to get to?
Well, I think it'll scale beyond that just based on sort of hardware improving. But I think that if you look at how blockchains today are built, I mean, there's a little bit of analogy here between ChatGPT and DeepSeek R1, which is just being more efficient at doing the computation is going to get you so much further. Most blockchains are what's known as monolithic, as in they only have one node type and it does all of the different components of a given transaction, collecting, organizing, and then doing the consensus and actually executing. Whereas Flow has kind of divided that up into different node types, and we have multiple technical papers proving that it's actually much more secure than at much lower cost, because each node type only does the piece of work that it has to do, and you basically do like minimum viable kind of verification, but with mathematical proof of why it's fully secure and why we can get to faster finality than basically any chain out there at scale. And so the architecture is built to be hyper efficient. And from a sort of developer standpoint, it's completely abstracted out. So a developer doesn't need to worry about, I'm using this roll up, or of course in the future they could use state channels and things like that, get sub-second latency, create a super seamless user experience. But then someone else building on top of them doesn't have to worry about that sort of the complexity of where does the asset live, so on and so forth. So the whole philosophy has been create a platform that can scale, but also sort of hides the wires from both the consumer as well as lets the developer focus on what they should be focused on, which is building an awesome app for real world users. You see every platform shift before, whether it's mobile, whether it's social, whether it's the original kind of move to web 1.0, web 2.0, the easier you make it for developers to focus on the content and basically the product that they're delivering, rather than all of the infrastructure and the tooling and the sort of the crud that goes into providing that service. The better products you get for real world consumers, the more real world users you onboard. And that's really when the platforms sort of reach that next step.
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. That's escape velocity, and it's definitely working off of first principles, which is the problem I think that a lot of people have been trying to solve on this leap from Web 2 to Web 3. It's a problem we're trying to solve, even here with our own media company. So it has been a challenge. I want to jump to, when you look at the technology and what we've seen with other chains, you have to look at, what's happening within the base ecosystem, This is a good example of growth dramatically here. Lots of users, okay. But then you look, is the tech more important or is the community more important? In this world of how these blockchains are going to break out, which one do you think wins?
Well, I think long term the community is more important, and so that's why Flow started with this focus on like exclusive content and working with the top brands and bringing kind of things that can't exist anywhere else. So that's I think ultimately community wins above all. But then looking at the technology, to me, things like Ethereum by itself feel like they're perfect for certain use cases, just like like a BlackBerry smartphone was perfect for email, web messaging. But in terms of building applications, I've got gray hairs. I was around with that first wave of sort of mobile smartphones were around, and we had obviously proliferation of certain kinds of devices, whether it's BlackBerry, Cassiopeia, Palm Pilot, etc., and a really complex developer experience trying to build on top of these smartphones, and sort of having to manage compatibility, manage interoperability, and the user experience of using them was very niche, right? Only insiders and tech people, geeks like myself, had the little stylus, et cetera, et cetera. What the iPhone did was make the platform usable for the masses, but also make the developer experience consistent so that you could build once and have it actually delivered to the user the way you kind of expect it to. And that was a lot of the philosophy from the flow perspective is look, everything that Ethereum has built is amazing, particularly for financial use cases. So if you're launching a token, if you've got a DeFi kind of token moving machine, a lot of those products, even on Flow, are written in Solidity and ported over from Ethereum, and therefore cross-compatible with everything that they've built. But if you're trying to create something new, something additional on top, we think you need to take the next step of using actually a platform with new features that didn't exist before. So to be clear, Flow as an EVM chain is still one of the fastest and the most performant. It runs. We benchmarked it in production at over 25 million gas, which is more than Base's target per block. And so you can fit more computation into a Flow transaction even today, even without using Cadence or any of the sort of advanced features and functionality. And so that just creates new kinds of products. And so anytime you look at a platform shift, there's going to be a new generation of what's kind of a killer app that does something that couldn't be done before. Mm-hmm. That's when it creates a rush of people wanting to build that killer app in the only place that it can be built. And in Flow's case, we think that if you're building a consumer application that needs to scale massively, but also is using on-chain logic and on-chain storage in new and innovative ways, there's simply no other place to do it other than Flow. If you look at Solana, Ethereum, et cetera, vast majority of smart contracts are copies of each other. They're forks and slight modifications. And anytime someone kind of goes a little bit beyond the confines of something known, it creates a lot of security vulnerabilities, and they have to get multiple audits. And even though they get multiple audits, they get potential for hacks and things like that. Writing a smart contract at Dapper. So Dapper's written more smart contracts than almost any company out there. And writing a smart contract used to be this like arcane kind of scary thing that only certain of our developers had the willingness to sort of take on, because it was very stressful. One mistake can kind of cause loss of user funds, et cetera. Since we've switched to Cadence for most of our work, it's every single backend developer writes and edits smart contracts freely. The CEO of QuantStamp told me, hey, you guys are going to put us out of a job because this code is so easy to read, write, and audit. And so it's just reduced the fear of trying new things. And so if you believe that crypto's done and all it's for is creating tokens and moving tokens around, then we're done. The platforms that already exist might suffice. But if you think that we're just scratching the surface of what you can do with decentralized APIs, decentralized state storage, having products that kind of don't take for granted that a user is kind of the product, but actually try to do something where the user is using a public good, then we're just kind of scratching the surface, and we're very excited about what the future holds.
Okay, well, I got to ask the question, and this, of course, we cover the brand activations around the industry. Of course, McDonald's and Doodles, big brand coordination and collaboration. Doodles, of course, now moving over to Base. from Flow. So you have a major project like Doodles making that shift. First of all, why and what was the reason behind this? Was there something there?
Yeah, so love the Doodles team. Big fan of Doodles, the IP and everything they're trying to do. I still have my Doodles, and really excited for the new direction of Doodles, which is under new leadership and kind of bringing it back to its kind of NFT or Web3 roots. So this change happened before the shipping of Crescendo, and as I mentioned before Crescendo, it was a tougher environment to build on Flow because you kind of had to be like Dapper. You had to have a full stack where you're bringing your own money, you're managing your own sort of financial rails, and it does make it easier to deal with fiat payment methods, but it makes it harder to be part of the sort of Web3, the wider Web3 world. So I think that today has changed, and who knows, maybe there's opportunities for Flow. And like I said, big fan of that team. And again, when you look at teams that are trying to do something new, that's the team that's trying to do something new, trying to build products that kind of change people's minds of, hey, what this technology is for. And we love that. And I think they're a great fit to be on Flow.
You look at rewards, Flow, I would say, is maybe one of the most innovative in terms of the rewards back to members. And this is something to me, when you look at DeFi on Flow, which is obviously now offering rewards, do you think we're going to see more of this, or is this something very unique to what you guys are trying to do here?
No, I think it's just starting. It's just really scratching the surface. The rewards platform that you just shared was kind of almost like an MVP that was important to get out there. I know the team's been working on, how to create. The point isn't just to like hand out free money. The point is how to nurture and create community, and then show and move that community into all of these different products that are launching on Flow. So, we just had a real world asset platform called BZ launch. In their first month, they did more transaction volume than Courtyard, which is the equivalent on Ethereum
we had her
in their first month.
Yeah,
oh, amazing.
We had the BZ team on talking about that. So that's a good example. Yeah.
It's a good example, but it's, again, like all starting to percolate because the bridges are just now going live. You mentioned Axelar, Layer 0 comes this week. I think by the time we're live, it'll be deployed. We're going to have multiple stable coins. Already have USDC bridged, and also there's going to be a stablecoin backed by PayPal USD. There will be incentives that are driven by a lot of these platforms coming in. There's institutional capital that's been waiting for the bridges to be ready, so to bridge in these stablecoins. And what they do, though, DeFi on Flow, is all about laying that foundation so you can build different kinds of products and applications on top, and not have to sort of, again, bring your own liquidity. There's going to be liquidity on the network. There's going to be folks that are launching native tokens on the network. It's going to be really easy to launch tokens on multiple networks. For example, I should have also mentioned the Hyperlane Solana bridge. Flow was one of the first secondary chains other than Solana to have the Trump token. There's farms now for folks to bring in their Trump token and farm incentives and things like that. And again, that's all kind of, it's a new advertising in a way, right? These new protocols are advertising these yields, bringing in that initial capital, showing folks that the systems scale and they work. And if they continue to provide valuable services, then they will continue to retain that liquidity and those users.
I know we're running a little bit long here, but I want to hit on two key major brands that could potentially be integrated here. Obviously, Disney Pinnacle, the announcement you guys made, which is almost a year and a half ago. If you look at it, I think it was late 23. And it's still not completely rolled out. What's the holdup here? Why? Because Disney Pinnacle's got to be ready to go.
It is ready. We're actually running a big trading event this weekend. Look, Pinnacle is a product we built from scratch, trying to take the learnings of NBA Top Shot and NFL All Day. It took a little bit longer than we wanted to sort of get it in a position where it's shareable for the outside world, and also it was important to kind of take the market sentiment and environment into account. And we really had to work to sort of tell the story to the Disney fan to, hey, look past the fact that, everybody has this negative preperception of NFTs. I remember I went to the Disney D23 fan conference, which is their biggest fan conference they do it once every 2 years. And I was standing in line at our booth talking to folks, and someone came up to me and said, "These aren't NFTs, are they?" And so we had to kind of like work past a little bit of the public perception of, hey, I want to collect things. I'm a huge Disney fan. but I've heard NFTs are bad somehow. And I think that's, first of all, starting to shift. Like, we're starting to get a big change from just in perceptions towards crypto, as I'm sure you've seen, away from, hey, we don't want it, to, wait a second, Trump is talking about it. I don't understand it. I need to understand it. And Dapper products have always been kind of that lightning rod for, the crypto curious that they don't want to necessarily just go speculate on tokens or invest or gamble, but they want to use something that kind of benefits from the technology. And I think Pinnacle is a great example. So we will be. Go ahead.
No, you were going to say a launch date, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, the other struggle is we have a big, world's largest IP partner, and we want to be very coordinated with how we talk about launch plans. But I will say that it's in the works, and I'm excited to bring it live in the next handful of months. But the biggest thing is, before it'll be launched, we have many opportunities for folks to come engage. So if you go sign up for the wait list, you're going to get invited faster than you would before. We're going to be there's community members going to Disney parks, and if you go to places where people trade physical pins, you might now see people trading digital pins, and it's actually starting to kind of percolate inside those super fan communities, which is really what we want to see. There's the marketplace isn't fully live yet; it will be soon. We're trying to be careful of like the balance between, hey, the authentic fan and then the speculative sort of interest that of course exists. But I will say it's one of the things I'm most excited about. And if people aren't in the product yet, it's a product that I think shows what Top Shot and All Day will be eventually, in terms of just like the quality of the collecting experience, the chasing sets, all of that stuff. It feels Web 2 in its sort of production quality.
So, Roham, I'm looking at Chipotle's website here, and it says, hey, want to earn some Chipotle items, Tekken 8. This is their integration. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this is a perfect major brand that should just jump onto something like Flow. And what's happening within this ecosystem, it's lined up. You've got character integration for NFTs. You've got avatar integration, the potential for a token that could be utilized. Why do you think we haven't seen Chipotle or brands like this, who already seem to be thinking this way, make the leap?
Well, I think the Flow team's, first of all, the Dapper team's priority has used to be kind of big brands, but now we're just focusing on NBA, NFL, Disney, and then our own products. So CryptoKitties, we're going to bring out Cheese Wizards, Michaela. We have our own stable of IPs that work. So Dapper is no longer kind of chasing brands that are mostly like advertising in nature. I think we have certain big fish that we're excited about, but we want to stay focused. And now on the Flow community, I think they're laser focused on developers, and the developers that are going to build the platforms that all these creators are going to be able to use. So for example, the future of meme coins is a more analogous to, hey, Facebook pages or Reddit groups or kind of like actual communities than Pumped Up Fun, et cetera. We want to bring on board that platform builder that has that vision to create tooling that every Live Nation artist or every athlete or every major brand, like you showed Chipotle, McDonald's, whatever it is, marketing manager can come in and actually use. Once we have that platform, then okay, amazing, bring those brands to use that platform on top. And of course, there's some iteration in between, but we don't think that these kind of activations that are, great social media announcements or PR, but aren't necessarily deep enough to kind of sustain engagement over time. And the most famous one being Starbucks, right? Like fantastic opportunity, but it wasn't. You got to go kind of deep, and that's why with NBA, NFL, Disney, we're sort of just behaving as if we're an embedded part of those organizations and trying to build something that's a complete fan experience. And sort of once you have a deep thing, then okay, you can platformize it, let others build on top. So I'm sure if someone from Chipotle is watching this, happy to chat with you and sort of help you get set up on what the tooling that exists today. But much more importantly, I'm happy to have the kind of conversation that we're going to have around sort of what does the future hold and how do you kind of create something that is sustainable and lasts and isn't just a, hey, we did an announcement, people came to farm a token, and then it doesn't necessarily kind of 2-3 years from now, everyone's moved on to something else, but we still have the liability, we still have the thing, right? We don't want we're not going to disappear into the night. We're going to maintain everything. That's important to us.
Hey, listen, this happened in social media when we started to see social, when brands would trust the idea of letting their brand live outside an ecosystem that was really in the Wild West. So I think it can happen in Web3 for sure. Last question to you. Do you see the NFT bill even being needed anymore? You've got, the President of the United States out there with his own meme coin. Is this something that is really required anymore? Or what's your thought on this?
It is. I mean, look, the President of the United States enjoys presidential immunity. The rest of us need to have laws that we can follow. And I think laws are written by lawmakers. And so it's very important. Now, the lawmakers now have a lot of that kind of like support from and air cover from the executive branch and the bully pulpit kind of saying these things and saying, hey, and meme coins are collectibles, NFTs are collectibles. But someone needs to go and put that into law. Someone needs to ratify that law. And judges need to sort of approve that law or at least agree to sort of agree that it's constitutional. And so that's how the system works. And so it's really important that we use this opportunity in the support of the executive branch to get things through that kind of create that clarity and stable foundation for everybody else to build on. And I don't know where their hearts are from me or from me, but I support them. And at the end of the day, these lawmakers, Senator Loomis and many others, Richie Torres, et cetera, have been engaged on this stuff. I met with Patrick McHenry in DC just a few months ago, and they're asking really good questions. And now they're empowered to be able to actually make a difference. And I think on both sides of the aisle, there's huge support for making sure America is a leader in this space. Like, why wouldn't we want that? Why would we block American consumers? And by the way, I hope Canada is going to follow suit. I'm sitting in Canada today, and we have not followed suit yet in terms of kind of saying, hey, we're as open to this technology as the United States is. But I think it's kind of inevitable, and it would be unfortunate to sort of lose that lead.
Listen, Roham, it's been great having you on the show today. Very good stuff. I think you guys are doing over at Dapper Labs, so we appreciate your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you guys, if you're not in the Diamond Circle, get in our own group, and of course, you guys can join our Telegram group, which is a closed group that I jump into and will communicate with you people out there. And all you have to do is just click the link down below. It's very easy and it's free to get into that. So do that or follow me out there on X @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.